यः सर्वत्रानभिस्नेहः तत्तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभम् नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता.
He continues with the description of a perfect person, an enlightened soul. One is established in wisdom when one is everywhere, unattached, neither elated at obtaining good nor vexed with evil. So in this verse, he is answering the question, Kim Vrajeta, how does he walk? Meaning, how does a realized soul contact the world? Because he's still, in spite of the fact that he's moved on to the fourth plane of consciousness, he's still with us. He lives like any one of us, he interacts with the world like any one of us, he is like any one of us. So how does that work? In verse 56, which we did yesterday, he speaks of his inner personality, what's going on inside him. In this verse, he talks about his interactions with the world. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of it, the key words in this verse are yaha, means whoever the person may be. This is not gender specific, this is not race specific, this is not community specific, it is not caste specific. Yaha means it's a universal message for all of humanity. Whoever the person be, wherever in the world, at whatever period of history, if he or she meets with these specifications, that person is considered a Sthitaprajna, a perfect soul. Now, the next word he uses is sarvatra, everywhere. If you read verses 55 and 56, you may get the misconception that a man of perfection is one who is inactive, who just sits there in meditation, who is, in other words, like a statue. Therefore, he corrects that possible misconception here by saying, here is a person who is sarvatra, everywhere, dynamic, productive, efficient, effective, like Krishna. You take a look at Krishna's life, he was dynamic, he was everywhere, he was right in the center of all kinds of issues, and extremely productive. And that's what we are looking for. We're looking for that kind of dynamism, we're looking for that kind of efficiency and productivity, which we don't have. So, one is established in wisdom when one is everywhere. Now, we are also everywhere. We are also running around, isn't it? Particularly in Mumbai, a dynamic city. But what's the difference? Difference is anabhisneha, unattached. That is the difference between us, ordinary people, and a person of realization. Now again, let's go back to the three species, living beings, three categories of living beings. Plant. A plant is by its very nature indifferent. It has no feelings even towards its own offspring. If the seed falls close to its roots, it stifles the seed. It doesn't allow its own offspring to grow. Indifferent. An animal is far from indifferent, but is terribly attached. That's the nature of the animal. Like a cat is attached to the home, the dog is attached to the master. There are birds who are attached to the mate, they die without the mate, so on and so forth. A human being is the only species in the world who has the capacity to be unattached, detached, has deep feeling, but is not dependent on others. See the difference? What makes for detachment is self-sufficiency. when you feel complete, whole, self-sufficient, you don't feel there is anything lacking within you, you're quite capable of living by yourself, but you have the capacity of establishing wonderful relationships with others, that is a state of detachment. Then you are not reaching out to others because you want them, or you need them, or you can't live without people. You're reaching out to them from a position of wholeness, completeness. And then you lend that wholeness to all your relationships. So then, you don't make any demands, you don't impose conditions on the other people, you have no expectations of people, so you're happy. Detachment means this. Go back to our relationships. All our relationships spring from complete dependence because we are not self-sufficient. We feel empty. So go back to your own life. Why did you establish friends? Why is it that you want friends? You feel incomplete without friends. Then marriage. How can I be single? So you get married. It's like you can't stand on your own feet, you need a crutch. So the husband or wife is a crutch that you depend on. And so actually you have no feelings for the other person. It's all about me. I need you. I make demands on you. I have expectations of you. And so the whole relationship gets vitiated. Because the other person however loving the other person may be, however accommodating the other person may be, when you're constantly making demands, you're constantly getting on his case, what is the natural reaction of such a person? Say, leave me alone, get lost. And that's what happens. And even when that happens, you don't get the message. Like teenagers tell the mother, say, don't you have any friends to go to? Why don't you go to parties? You go out with your friends. In other words, the child is saying, leave me alone. It's not physical. This attachment or detachment is not physical, it's mental. So when you are mentally attached, there is a physical rejection. Or at least you feel there is a physical rejection. You feel the other person is rejecting you, but that's not true. The person is not rejecting you, the person is rejecting your demands, your expectations, your clinging. Let go of the clinging. Let go of the demands and expectations, and the person will be very happy to have you. Try it. Just stop making demands on people. Everything you want as according to your pattern. Do this, do that, don't do this. You take a look at a mother who is constantly getting at a child. See, initially the child doesn't understand. And even if the child understands, it has no choice because she's or he is dependent on the mother. The moment the child gets a little bit of independence, starts rebelling. The more rebellious the child, the greater the mother's attachment. Directly proportional. So, attachment is a deadly thing. Here is a person who is anabhisneha, detached, because of growth, because of self-sufficiency, because of understanding, knowledge, wisdom. The moment you become self-sufficient, you don't need anybody around you. Yet you have wonderful relationships with people. That's the way to be. How do you know you're attached? When the husband goes on a business trip or the wife goes to her mother's place, the person hasn't even reached the airport. You call and say, I'm missing you. And you send 25 messages a day. That is attachment. See, technology has catered to your attachment. Initially, many years ago, you had to book a trunk call from one place to another. So that was a painful procedure. And then you had to wait around, you didn't know for how long, before you got connected. So, even if you were attached, you had to let go. Then came STD and ISD and all that. But it was expensive. So in the 80s, when the child went to America to study, the parents would give themselves target of one phone call a month, just to make sure that the son is all right. And even while the mother was calling the son, the husband would sit there and say, only 3 minutes. Don't ask useless questions. Don't repeat what you said. And the poor mother got paralyzed. Even that 3 minutes she couldn't speak. Now you have, webcam and this cam and that cam, and so the other day a lady told me, my son has gone to America. So I said, are you missing him? I said, no, not actually, because every day I speak to him for 1 hour. I said, 1 hour? Even when the child is here, you don't speak to him for 1 hour. That's attachment. And all these telecom companies are making huge profits out of your attachment. So, there are 2 points he's trying to make here. Number 1, don't get attached and suffer. Because the law is, wherever you get attached, whoever you get attached to, you are just signing up for suffering. And number 2, when you're attached, you lose the object of attachment. You lose the person or the object. And number 3, even when the person is with you or even when the object is with you, you can't enjoy because you are agitated. Example is a mother with a child. She is so agitated about the child's well-being. Is he eating? Is he not eating? Has he done this? Has he not done that? Has he done his homework? So on and so forth. So whatever enjoyment there is in the child, the mother can't enjoy. Second, external events don't agitate the person. So he's saying, he's not elated at obtaining good, nor vexed with evil. So external events don't affect. How is it so? Let's look at it in the absolute and relative. Absolute, easy to understand, very difficult to implement. See, the world has the capacity only to affect your body, mind and intellect. The world does not have the wherewithal to influence Atman, the real you. But because of your unintelligent identification and association with body, mind and intellect, you have become the body, mind and intellect. So whatever happens to the body, happens to you. You see? You actually experience that. On a particular day, you may go to office with a splitting headache. But you have a very important meeting. And while you're at the meeting, there's important negotiations going on. You are so focused on what is happening at the meeting that the headache doesn't bother you. Isn't that true? Once the meeting is over, again the headache starts. So what happens? For the moment, your attention is shifted from the body to the mind or the intellect. So physical variations, fluctuations don't affect you. Now, throughout our lives, constantly you're thinking, I am body, I am mind, I am intellect. You're constantly thinking of body, mind, and intellect, so much so that you have become the body, mind, and intellect. And the world, therefore, affects, torments, and terrorizes you. All you have to do is shift your identification to Atman, and then you're safe. Nothing in the world affects you. Let's take an example. Let's take a look at a horseshoe magnet. Take a piece of iron to the horseshoe magnet, and what happens? It gets attracted. The magnet affects the iron. Take away the iron piece and bring a wooden piece to the magnet. What happens? Nothing. The wood has no capacity to, the magnet does not have the capacity to influence wood. Now you do something interesting. Tie the iron and wooden pieces together and bring the combination to the magnet. What happens? Attracted. Even while the combination is attracted by the magnet, the wooden piece in that combination still remains immaculate, unaffected, pristine. It appears to be affected because of the bondage with the iron piece. It's the same thing with us. The iron piece represents body, mind, and intellect. The world is a powerful magnet that influences the body, mind, and intellect. The wooden piece is the spirit in you, Atman, which the world has no influence over. But and you are Atman. But you have unintelligently tied yourself, bound yourself to body, mind, and intellect so much that when the world influences the body, mind, and intellect, you appear to be influenced. Even while this is going on, the real you, Atman, is untouched. You just have to assert that. You have to reinforce that thought. You have to think Atman, and the world will lose its stranglehold on you. So, therefore, in the Atma Shatkam, the verse says,
Mano buddhya hankara cetani naham na cha shrotra jibhe na cha grana netre na cha
try it. When your body is in pain, just tell yourself powerfully, I am not the body, I am Atman. It works temporarily. But as your identification and thinking shifts entirely from body, mind, and intellect to Atman, nothing in the world will touch you. This is a far cry. This is the state of realization. How do we start? You start by, number one, making an assessment of the world. Making an assessment of people around you, situations around you, the city in which you live, the society in which you live, so on and so forth. And when you have an understanding, a proper understanding, instead of some fanciful notions, you're prepared for anything. And this preparation reinforces you so that you don't get affected. Simply put, it's like this. When you go on a roller coaster ride, the first thing you have to do before the roller coaster ride starts, what do you have to do? Fasten seat belts. Before you embark on the roller coaster ride of life, fasten your seat belts. Gain knowledge of Vedanta. Make an assessment of the world so that you are well fortified to meet with any experience. You don't sit there expecting only good. You're prepared for everything and you know how to handle it. So, this is it. Number one, you don't get attached, and first of all, yaha, whoever you are, you're sarvatra, dynamic, efficient, productive. But this dynamism is backed by detachment. Detachment comes from self-sufficiency. Out of that self-sufficiency, you establish great relationships where there are no expectations, no demands, so the other person adores you. Then, external events don't disturb you because in the absolute, you have shifted your attention from body, mind and intellect to Atman. In the relative, you have made an assessment of the world and what it has to offer. So you're prepared for any eventuality.